Oh, you ready to? Okay. Great. Okay. Well, it's 9:31. So, welcome everybody to the March Community Board meeting via Zoom. Dennis, are you happy to do karakia for us?
I am indeed.
Good
morning, everyone. Kia tau mai te maramatanga, kia tau mai te rangamari e, kia tau mai te kaha, me te aroha, mo tēnei kaupapa, hui e tahiki e.
Kia ora, Dennis, thank you. Do we have any, I know we have one apology from Councillor Hill. Do we have anyone that needs to leave early or any leave of absences? Okay, great. Well, I'm happy to move that the apology from Councillor Hill be accepted. Can I have a seconder, please?
Yep, seconded.
Seconded by Deputy Chair Knowles. Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you, carried. So that moves us into our public forum. We have two speaking in public forum today. We have Cynthia and Reg. So Cynthia, you're up first. Welcome.
Thank you, Jess. Can you hear me okay?
We can all hear you, Cynthia.
Oh, good. I just wanted to check before I start. Okay, so good morning, everyone. And I hope you can see the screen, Plantings Taupata, June 2021. I want to start by thanking the Golden Bay Community Board for their support for our project at Taupata. Our plantings there are well established.
Sorry, Cynthia, it doesn't appear that you're sharing your screen at the moment.
Okay, let me just have a look. Oh, gosh. I might have to click the share screen and I may not have done that. Okay.
That looks better.
Right. Have you got that?
Yep, it's there now.
Okay,
Yep.
Sorry about that. So I just wanted to start by thanking you for your support for our project at Taupata. Our plantings there are well established. The bird hide is built and we're waiting on council to complete the paperwork for its installation. Design of our educational signage is underway. The Forest and Bird Committee is hopeful that over time, ground nesting shorebirds and godwits that once roosted here will return to Taupata. Nearby residents inform us that vehicle disturbance to the birds has reduced by around 2/3 since the vehicle entry onto the beach was blocked off. I'd like to talk now about the shorebird sites that Forest and Bird, the Ornithological Society of New Zealand, the Department of Conservation and Mana Whenua ki Mohua want to see protected from vehicle disturbance. The council report that was provided to the board contains no information on the biodiversity values at these sites. So I'm going to try and cover that now. What are we trying to protect? Migratory birds like the bar-tailed godwit seen here on its arrival in September from Alaska. The need for these birds to attain a body weight that allows them to return to Alaska in March is paramount to their survival. So the next photo will show you what we want to see. So here's the same bird 6 months later, ready for its return flight home and can only be described as obese. And that's what we want. We also want to protect our ground nesting birds, birds like the Caspian tern, the critically endangered black-billed gull, the variable oyster catcher, the white-fronted tern, the banded dotterel. So each of the 7 sites are also roosting sites, and a roosting site is where shorebirds rest at high tide after feeding. So what are we trying to protect them from? People taking their vehicles out for a scenic drive on a beach like this at the Parapara Inlet We recently had a bird, an oyster catcher with a damaged leg that was hit by a vehicle there. Young people joyriding on motorbikes, disturbing ground nesting shorebirds, and quad bikes that are damaging the estuarine environment. Travelling adjacent to nesting sites and causing birds to abandon their nests. So not a single pair of banded dotterels has successfulully raised a chick at any of these sites over the last 3 years. And of the 8 pairs of oyster catchers at the Parafoka Oha, and that's the photo that's in front of you now, just 1 pair successfully raised 2 chicks this year. I would have liked you to have access to the Nikki Macarthur Shorebirds report that was funded by Council. In that report, they found that 1/3 of the New Zealand population of variable oyster catchers nest here. So this bird and many other shorebirds and seabirds are in urgent need of your help to breed and to rest here in Golden Bay. Thank you, everyone.
That's great. Thanks very much, Cynthia, and thank you for adding some more information for us. It's always helpful.
Right, and I'll send that text to you, Jess, so you've got that record.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Of what I
Cynthia.
said for your minutes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks. You too,
Bye.
Cynthia. Bye.
Thank you.
Reg, welcome. How are you?
Getting old, my dear. Celebrating my 81st and a half birthday,
Oh, goodness.
but enjoying life. Look, I've
Good.
just received an email from Jess McFarlane telling me that my question to the board is better answered by the staff, and therefore I will have to withdraw it. So there you go. But hello to everybody. Good
Oh.
to see you all.
All right.
And
Thank you,
Zooming is
Reg.
obviously the way we talk in the future. Yeah.
I
Okay,
think so.
we could have
Thank you,
you got
Reg.
you got my answer. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for facilitating that, Jess. That's excellent. So that brings us to the end of our public forum. So any declarations of interest from board members for today?
I guess because I live at the beach and only have beach access, it could be deemed that I have a interest in this access thing, but I don't consider that I do, in the sense that TDC granted a subdivision to land with only beach access. And I'm also feel I'm in a good position to make a comment because I've lived at the beach in the vicinity of one of these sites for more than 25 years, and I sort of see what happens, good and bad.
I agree, Everall. And your vehicle on the beach is purely to get to and from your residence, so I don't see that as a conflict at all, Dennis.
I don't, but I've got something to add later on, but it's not quite the right moment at the moment.
Dennis, is that okay for you?
Oh, yes, yeah. No,
Right.
it's no greater than the public, other members of the public.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to confirmation of minutes. So can I have a mover, please, that the minutes of the Golden Bay Community Board meeting held on Tuesday, 8th of February 2022 be confirmed as a true and correct record of the meeting?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Grant. And a seconder? I'm happy to second. So you're all in favour?
All right.
Excellent. Thank you. So we'll move forward. Now, Jess, because I don't have my run sheet up, sorry, it went away. When is the best time to bring in the late items?
You should do it now.
Do it now?
Yeah.
Oh, and did we get the wording, Jess, on why we're bringing in late items?
One moment.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just finding that draft resolution. That the Golden Bay Community Board receives the late items report as items were received after the collation of the main agenda and includes A, a correspondence relevant to an item of business on the agenda, and B, an item of business which requires a response before the next meeting. and then nominates a member to the hearing panel for Port Tarakoe construction of a fence to protect nesting little blue penguins, Karora.
Excellent. So we could do that at the end, couldn't we? Once we have that discussion now then.
No, you just accept the late items now, and we'll do that when
Okay.
they come up. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Dennis. Excellent. Okay, so I'm happy to move that the late items be accepted. And can I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Councillor Butler. Thank you. All in favour? Excellent. Thank you. Right, I'm just pulling up my run sheet again now on my phone, so I've got it sitting in front of me. Great. So that brings us to our first presentation, the Golden Bay projects update. So I believe that Graham's
Just accessing now.
Excellent. Hi, Graham. Welcome. Looking forward to your update. Where did Graham go? Oh, there he is. Hi, Graham.
He's on mute.
He is on mute. Right.
Unmutate yourself, Graham.
Hello. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Coming through.
Can you
Receiving.
hear me? Okay, cool. Excuse me. So I'm going to talk about a few projects that we're doing in the area. I wonder if I can share my screen. Share my screen. This one here. Can you all see this screen?
Almost.
It's just loading. That's up now.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So my first project I'm going to talk about is the new wastewater pump station, which is situated by Port Tarakoe. So here we have the campground, and we're intending to put the new wastewater pump station in this bit of green here. Can you all see that? Yep. So from here, the new wastewater pump station will go in a pipe 2.5 kilometers and go through the road, through the hard rock, through Bahara, and terminate in the new wastewater pump station called Four Winds, next to the cafe here. So this has been designed at the moment and will be procured maybe in June, July, ready for construction start in July 2023. So it's a good year away. So we've only got a couple of months to go before we've finalised the costings and everything, but we're having a few issues figuring out how we get the pipe in the ground without closing the whole of Abel Tasman Drive off, because there are a few difficulties with going around these sharp corners and having a trenching machine actually staying in the far lane nearest the sea. So we're hoping to have it in the center of this lane here. Yeah, so the next discussions is how do we do it without closing Abel Tasman Drive, which we can't close Abel Tasman Drive, so that's a bit of a tactical move on that one. Have we got any questions on that? No, okay. The other project is that I am not running, but my colleague Jack is running, is the cycle bridge on Mopapipi Bridge. So hopefully that will start next month. So that is going to tag on to the Mopapipi Bridge, which is, where are we going? So just here, if everybody can see that. So that will be starting next month, I believe. And that should take about a month and a half to complete. So hopefully it'll be open before June. Okay, and then let's Some of my other projects are in Port Terracotta itself. So Port Terracotta is here, obviously. So we have just recently removed the decking from the old timber wharf here. So Solly's did that project and very successfully. So all we did was remove the deck. The timber structures are still in place. What we are doing at the moment is writing some documents for 3 or 4 projects. One of them is to replace this timber wharf with a concrete wharf. So it'll be all steel lined around the existing footprint of the old wharf, filled with rocks and then concrete topped. So it'll be identical to this wharf, except this one's on piles and this one will be solid. We're also looking to extend this breakwater here, and that will also be sheet piled around here, filled with rock, and it'll be a gravel surface. We are also wanting to extend the width of this parking here, so we're going to make this area here more vertical. So we've got parking on this side here, and then parking on the other side. At the moment, there's only one side of parking. And then hopefully with the extension of this breakwater, we can put some more berths in here, which will also be part of the tender process. And then just in this corner here, we are going to build an evolution block with an office on top. So that will be 3 or 4 toilets, some showers, a smoker room, a laundry room with dryer and with a washing machine. And then upstairs will be an office for the port manager. So really that is the essence of the projects that are happening at the moment. We've only got $5 million next year. So once we get some estimates of the Port Terracotta projects, we will pick off the ones that are around about $5 million and then go with them. Unsure at this moment how much everything will be, but the toilet block itself will be around about 800,000 because it's the toilet block or the ablution block and all the wastewater that goes with it and the storage. So it gets quite expensive with all that kind of stuff. And that's about it really. Has anybody got any questions? Yes, Dave, how are you?
Just the breakwater extension. You're not going to cut off for the future bigger boats coming in?
No, we've already gone into that with the harbour master and Mayor Solly and the mussel barge people. So this at the moment is about 80 meters. And we're going to 60 meters. So we've already gone down that track of, okay, what size should it be or what size can we get? And we have identified 60 meters is about the right width. Yeah. So does that answer your question?
Yep.
Yep. So any other questions, people? Grant? No?
No. Can you just explain, sorry, could you just explain a little bit more about how that trench is going to be built around the rocks? Because it's not just an easy trench to dig, is it? It's a sort of a diamond grinder that has to grind through rock. It's just, how long is that going to take?
Okay, so all through Abel Tasman Drive here is pretty hard rock, marble rock. So there's a chain trenching machine which comes from Auckland, which has diamond blades on it, and you can get them 300 or 600 mil wide, and it has to go down 1 meter, and it will be very, very slow, but you cannot use a normal excavator. So the diamond blade trencher is the only way to go. To go from the pump station through to about here, which is Bahara Valley Road, that stretch would have to be done with the trencher, and hopefully the bit between Bahara Valley and Bahara we can do with an excavator. But there are isolated spots of hard rock between Bahara Valley and Bahara, so that will have to be done with a chain trencher. So I would say they were going to get around about 40-50 meters a day with the train trencher, because you are going down quite deep. So it's a bit of a time thing for the train trencher to go through.
Right. So would we be better off to try and avoid the summer busy time?
Oh, we won't be doing it in the summer. My plan is to do it in the winter. Yeah.
This winter?
No, it doesn't start till 2023, which is July 2023. Okay. Yeah. So we're going to procurement. So all the documents will be completed by June. I intend to go out to tender, and Fortin Hogan have actually won the contract through the tender panel, and we haven't got the money until July 2023. So that's when we plan to start it.
Is there any bypass for the road going up Bahara Valley and around to Liger Bay through that way? Because I thought there was, and it might be a better solution just in the interim as a detour.
I have no details on that. You did talk about that when we last met, but I wouldn't even know where that road is. Does it come through here? Does it, Grant? Is this the road here?
There isn't actually an alignment. It has been discussed on several occasions, though.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think there used to be an indicative road on the planning maps. I'm not too sure whether it's still there, though.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that road, and I don't know. I've never even been on it. I don't know whether you could drive trucks on it or not. I don't know how safe it would be. But whereabouts is it, Dennis?
It actually doesn't go all the way through.
Oh,
it's just an alignment.
Okay, so there isn't a potential road then. Yeah. So yeah, does that answer your question, Grant?
Yep, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah,
It is going to be a bit of a lengthy process.
Yeah. I've got a question. Thanks very much, Graham. And we're digging. You're going to be digging a trench, and is there going to be the opportunity to put other pipes in that trench while you're at it?
We're actually going to be talking about that this afternoon. There will be, but we can't put, say, like if we wanted to put a water pipe in there or something, or I don't know, a stormwater pipe, we would have to go wider with the trench, which is the diamond blade trenching, and it would actually cost quite a lot of money, and it would be a lot slower. So trenching a 300 mil trench would take, say, 60 meters a day, and to trench a wider trench, which is 600, which is the next size, you're looking at about 40 meters a day. So the time frame would be a lot longer, because you've got more of a surface area to excavate, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and
so
more
would that
expensive.
mean then that
more expensive.
Another solution would need to be found to bring a water supply around to put.
Correct. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, and we're talking about that this afternoon with WSP and Fortin Hogan. Yeah. But at any time, if anybody wants to ask any questions, just flick me an email. I can tell you where we are with the process, or if you've got any concerns, I can try and talk you through that. But at the moment, we're still trying to figure out how to get this chain trencher around these sharp corners without having to close the road, because it's a 15-meter machine and has a truck at the end of it, so as it trenches through, it removes the stone or the aggregate away and then goes straight into the truck. So it's a bit of a carriage, so to speak. Yeah. So we're just going to try and work through that this afternoon of how do we do that. because we cannot close Able Tasman Drive. So.
Oh, well, that's good for us to know. The other question I had was that the flood, the project for flooding at in Bahara is going to be underway, isn't it, at some point?
Yeah, so let's talk about that now then. So I actually didn't forget about it, but I didn't write it down to talk about.
Okay.
So we have this area through here. The project is Bahara Stormwater project. And I have split the project into 3 parts. So around Selwyn Street here, we have 3 properties here, the Lees, Scovagans and Rosemary, I forgot her surname now. And we're going to put a retaining wall around here. Okay, we've already done some stream work, so the flows will go through, but the wall's only around about no more than 900 millimeters high, and the lowest is 400 millimeters. So it's not a high, huge retaining wall, but it will stop the water going to these properties and flooding all of these properties as well. So we'll have to get access through the Scoffagan's place to do some of this work. Also, Mr. Bartlett, who owns this property here, we're going to be putting a clay bund wall around here, because this property here and this property here get flooded. So that will keep the water in this area through here. The third project is under Able Tasman Drive, next to the Four Winds pump station. We have a 1800 diameter culvert. So this really is a bit too small for the flows that are coming through. So we are going to install a 4 meter wide by 1.8 boxed culvert. So it's sort of double the size of the existing culvert. So that will get the flows going through. So unfortunately, we can't start this project until October. The resource consent inhibits us from working in the stream from May to October due to the fish species in the water here. So this one will be going hopefully in October. The wall I was just talking about on Selwyn Street, I'm hoping to start this in about a month's time. We have finally just got easements for this property here and this property here. They just got signed this week, and we will be getting the tenders back from Solly's for this project in 2 weeks' time, and then we can get going on putting the retaining wall in. But there are some river works to do, which we will have to defer now to October. But we can get majority of the work done around these properties here to stop the flooding. We just can't go into the river or the stream, sorry, to do any work. So I've talked about the wall, I've talked about the culvert under this road here, and then we are in talks with Richmond Bahara Holdings. So the stream comes along here, and we're going to install a 900 millimeter and below, so it goes from about 400 mil to 900 mil clay bund wall that runs along the river here or the stream and then connects to the road here, so it stops all these houses getting flooded. But this is not going to happen until negotiations have been had with Richmond Bahara Holdings, and this can't happen actually until next summer. So because in order to compact the bund wall, which you can't just use any old clay, it's got to be water penetrating clay, it's got to be compacted properly, it has got to have a proper water moisture content, and you can only do that in the sort of warmer months. You can't do it in rain, otherwise it just turns to mush. So that's the 3 sections of that project. So as I said, we could do the retaining wall as soon as we get the prices through. The culvert under Abel Tasman Drive, that will start in October, and this bund wall here will be next summer. Any questions on that one? No.
Where does the
the swampy area east of the Four Winds pump station, is this going to open that up to subdivision?
Oh, sorry, I don't know that question. I'm just the project manager delivering the project, so I just have to ask. Yeah,
because the swamp areas are called natural storage for water, but you're cutting it off.
Yeah, I don't know the answer.
To cut the water off from that area.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Sorry, no.
Well, that's you must have considered that, because that's where the water will be stored now. If there's too much water in that low-lying area there, and you're cutting it off, it must have been a big part of what you considered when you're designing the whole system. So concentrating it elsewhere.
So David, I'm just the project manager delivering the project, so I just get given the project. I'm not too sure what's gone on in the past or about any future subdivisions, so I'd have to find that question out for you.
Right.
That's a different department, sorry, but I can find that for you if you like.
Dennis, do you know?
I think some of that land is zoned residential from Kahiko Place, but yeah, I could find out myself as well.
Grant, did you have a question?
No. Oh, I did wonder where the clay's coming from. It sounds like an awful lot of clay, and do we have that here?
Yeah, we do. So Graham Dix has the clay.
Oh yeah.
So we're in talks with Graham. So yeah. So, and the clay has to be tested, which we've already tested it, so it's good clay. Yeah.
Isn't that Graham Dix subdivision?
Yeah.
That is correct. Yeah. But Graham Dix has to put the retaining wall in, the clay bund in anyway as part of his conditions. So we're working with him to make that happen.
All right. Thank you, Grant. Oh, Dave, one more.
Just one more. Are Bartlett's on board with this?
Graham Bartlett.
Yeah.
This man here.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. Yeah, I spoke to him last week, and he's happy. His brother's just died, and yeah, he's happy with us to do that. And also, when we put the culvert in down here, we're going to take some of his land and just turn that into a temporary road, because to put the culvert in, we'll have to close Abel Tasman Drive. So we'll come around into Mr. Bartlett's land and then come back out. So yeah, is that all right, Dave? Yeah, cool. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you for the opportunity for being able to talk to you guys. And if you have any questions, please flick me an email. Happy to give you a call or send you an email.
That's great. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Graham. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks,
No worries. Take care, guys. Cheers. Thank you.
Okay, so that brings us to our chair's reports. So let's have a look. And as always, first is items from public forum. So first up, our only item this morning was Cynthia updating us on Topata Point, which is great. Great to hear that the plan is well established. Love the look of the educational signage. That looked really neat. And great that residents have reported that vehicle disturbances stopped by at least 2/3, which is great to hear. And she brought our attention to the extra information that complements the staff report that we received, or the information from staff we received on shorebird protection, which we will discuss later on. Yes, we will discuss it later on. Can we discuss? Sorry.
Separate item.
Different item. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Comes further on. Sorry, my chair's report's all unstapled, so that wasn't the most clever thing I've done all day. Anyway, so that we can discuss that later on. Regis was answered by the service request, which is great, which shows this registration for speakers is really working. So instead of Reg having to wait maybe 2-3 weeks, his query was able to be dealt with by Jess straight away, which is excellent. So our next item on the Chair's report is just the Easter Sunday training hours. The Council approved the adoption and the bylaw will take effect by Easter, April 2022. So that's great. There's some information from staff regarding the rubbish bins, which is on the action sheet for discussion further on. Just some feedback from our CEO, Janine, around the decision regarding the My Vaccine Pass. It was made by the Council's leadership team as a management decision, and it was made regarding the health and safety of their staff. She's also reminded us or asked us that any issues with council service or level of service be raised with the council first to enable them to respond to them. And I think that was about all. She also did mention that the click and collect service hadn't received a single complaint about the arrangement. So just again, going back to council with any service issues first.
Emmy?
So moving on.
Emmy,
Yes.
can I just
Sorry.
could I just take this moment to from the board, seeing we're talking, it was Janine, could I just take this moment to congratulate from the board her appointment to the tribunal that's looking into the circumstance that's looking into the reforms of the government of government law, and congratulations to Leonie Ray, who's stepping into her place. So can we just formally sort of put that through to them, please?
Yeah, I think, yeah, absolutely. Cool. Celia, you had something?
Yeah, I just thanks through the chair. Just a further comment about item 6 and the protection framework. I have been assured by the CEO's PA that this is being reviewed on a daily basis. The COVID mandate for a vaccine certificate for the libraries, and that TDC is in touch with the other councils around the country, and they're waiting, for a signal from the government. But at this stage, it looks like it will be, a few weeks yet before that will be lifted. The other issue about that, which is it's an emerging issue, is that people who have had COVID, what is the situation when somebody has had COVID and they don't have a vaccine certificate because they haven't been vaccinated? So yeah, there is the latest scientific information is that having had COVID does not necessarily give you sufficient immunity to that you won't actually get it again. Now,
but that's the same with the vaccine, Celia. And today the government.
Sorry, I haven't finished, April. I haven't finished, April. I can forward through to the. I was just had an email from the Leonie Ray, the acting CEO, yesterday, and I can forward it around to the community board. The information that the science, the jury is still out on this in terms of the science. and there are quite a lot of links that I can send around for people to look at as regards immunity being provided by having had COVID. Because I understand that this is a bit of an issue in our community, but at the moment, the mandates will still require a vaccine certificate. So I will send that around.
Okay, many thanks, Celia, and great to hear that they are reviewing this on a daily basis.
Yes.
And keeping up with all the changes.
I can see why it's a grey area.
Can I speak? The government's meeting today to review the mandates, because obviously they think it's a bit strange, and there are councils that have revoked their things. And you've got to look at this logically. When the government can send COVID positive nurses back to work and not let clear unjabbed ones not work, there has to be something questionable. And vaccinated people that have had it can still get it as the same as well. So the data isn't clear either way. And I just don't need any stuff sent to me, Celia, I'm sorry. I've talked to people who've tried to catch COVID, been in contact with COVID all week. My partner was with a COVID positive person last week, hasn't got it, I haven't got it. It's not like Ebola, I'm sorry. It's not like Ebola. And I think that the damage that's doing to this community by continuing on is far more than someone getting sick.
Well, it's still good to hear
that we can each have individual views, but I think we should just move on.
Yeah, good to hear that they're reviewing, Davey. Thanks for being on top of that, Celia. Okay, so Liger Bay erosion. There was some activity on the community notice board, which is what brought this to our attention. And I think, Grant, you went out and had a look.
Yeah, can I talk to this?
Oh, well, actually, Dennis has got some information that's just come to hand, which will be useful in guiding a discussion. So, Dennis, can I direct this to you?
Hello. Oh, I know Steve Richards was looking into it.
Yes.
And I haven't heard what the result is yet.
Oh, sorry, I understood from Jeff that you had some more information regarding possible resource consent needed to do the work. Was that right, Jeff?
Sorry, yes.
My apologies, Dennis. I had spoken to Stephen. He had indicated that you'd be briefed on that and that you would be able to give the board a bit more of an update.
Okay.
And
so
he didn't give me an awful lot of information either.
I know that they're looking at doing some works on the stream that seems to be exacerbating the erosive forces there. Yeah, but I'm not too sure what they've done.
Okay, can I just I'll give you a fairly quick rundown, because I've been looking into this quite extensively. For a start, the stream was cut straight after the 2011 flood to alleviate the water. Before that, the stream ran to the left and ran up to the cliff. And when they cut it straight, it alleviated the water that had built up. And now I sent through the photos. Jess didn't send them out, but it did send through the photos of the 2011 flood, and some great photos. Did anyone see them? Jess, could you possibly put them up for people to see? I've sent them to you twice now. And
sorry, Grant, I know I'm just thinking we should probably wait to hear from Stephen before we get too further into this discussion, because I think he's got the solution.
Yeah, but I'm getting to the solution. This is the important thing. And he came and spoke with me. Okay, so I do know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And so what's happened is with the river going straight, with the stream going straight into the ocean, the current runs around Liger Bay and it pushes it to the right. And so it's gone from going straight out to the right because of the current of Liger Bay. When it used to go to the left, run along to the left and come out under those cliffs as you come down the road there. And this has been the problem because the current doesn't catch it there and pull it down to the right, you see. So he has got a resource consent in process to shift the river back into that direction. He sent some plans through, which I think we got in our extra after the fact. Did we get those? I did have them printed out, but I forgot to bring them home.
Sorry,
You sent
Grant,
them
I
out?
circulated those
Yeah,
plans as
yeah.
they went through as
Yeah.
correspondence prior to the meeting.
That's what he's looking at. He can get an emergency resource consent to fix it in the short term, which is how they got by cutting through straight to the ocean in the first instance. They did it as an emergency without a resource consent. You get a resource consent after the fact. My big issue with this, and I've spoken to Lynn Hall and a few others about this, it's not just about the river and about the stream coming through. It's about the culvert, which is possibly undersized, and I spoke to Robert Deck yesterday about that, and he's going to have another look at it, because we've got a huge subdivision going in above there, and it's a really large catchment in Liger Bay, and that culvert, that catchment is going to become a pretty big issue. So unless we want what's happening over in Bahara to come up and give us problems, then we need to start working on this now and need to look at the long term of this. I think this is actually very important. But I would like to show you, if Jess, is it possible to put those photos up?
I think at this stage, Grant, what we should do is put it together in a proper report back to the board with the information you've received from Stephen, and perhaps invite Stephen along to our next board meeting to give that all some context.
I would like to see this photo.
Sorry?
I just want to see those photos up. That's really important. Just so you
I think
can
maybe,
see.
Jess, if you could possibly, I think it's probably a bit tricky at the moment, but if you could circulate them afterwards, Jess, that would be really good. Is that possible?
Yep, I can do that. I'm running about 6 different screens at the moment to try and get all that information up. So I need to circulate that after the meeting.
That would be great. Thanks, Jess. Thanks for all your work on that, Grant, too, because it sounds like you didn't just go and visit. You've been talking to everyone that needs talking to and keeping it at the forefront and keeping it as a high priority. So thank you. That's very good.
Yeah, I'm not going to let it go. I'm just going to keep on that one. Perfect.
Thank you. So that brings us to our future development strategy. So the Nelson City Council and TDC and Tasman City District Council, are working together to prepare this. The policy team have arranged a Golden Bay specific webinar on March the 18th at 6 p.m. So that's this coming Friday as part of the public consultation, and they're seeking submissions on that draft. So Jess has popped the link into the chair report. Thanks for doing that, Jess. And there is a flyer on attachment 1. So hopefully everyone will be able to make it to the webinar on Friday at 6 p.m.
Yeah,
so
hi,
that moves us. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say that I hope that we get a good turnout for that Golden Bay webinar, because we had to actually push for that in council, because Golden Bay was going to be included in a more general webinar topic for more general, rural areas. And, we made the point that webinars are quite good for Golden Bay, because it means that people who actually can't get in person to feedback can access webinars. So I'm hoping that we'll get a good turnout, because if we do, then we'll get more webinars, and if we don't, then it'll be harder to get them. Golden Bay specific ones. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for doing that, Celia. So that moves us into our Golden Bay bus service. Now, Avril received correspondence, excuse me, from Golden Bay Coach Lines seeking the board support to have Golden Bay added to the council's regional transport and public transport plans. Has everyone had a chance to read the email, and do they have? Avril's probably the best person to answer these questions, because she was the one in communication with Arthur. So Avril, did you want to add things to this?
No, they've been running at a loss for some time, and they just felt disappointed that Golden Bay's excluded from the regional transport plan when it's sort of the only service and a very important service because of our isolation. People use it to get to the airport, people that are elderly and feel incapable of driving over the hill, students coming back for weekends. They just wanted some temporary support until things got going again, like next summer. And they'd rather close, well, given the option, they'll have to close the service down rather than subsidise it from their other businesses. So it's sort of like, unless we can do something, I think they'll shut it. It's unfortunate. I know council don't normally subsidise a business, but this is sort of a service as much as what it is a business, and they're only asking for a small help in some way.
Yeah, so they've requested that the board encourage council to consider subsidising the current 3-day-a-week service.
Yes.
Okay. Grant.
Hey, April, when is there likelihood that they're going to actually close this permanently? For, you know, with the in the
end of
current
this month.
situation?
Probably the end of this month.
Okay, so we haven't got very long to.
No. And once a service shuts down, it's really hard to sort of start it up again.
And it's only running twice a day, morning and night, is that right?
It's running 3 days a week at the moment, and it used to run, I think, 5 days a week. But I'm not sure if it runs twice a day or not, but it's, even if they ran once a day, well, I mean, they go over and back, I guess. But it's just, you know, what are people going to do? Because we've got a fuel crisis. And that, you know, people will not want to drive their car to Nelson. It just isolates Golden Bay even more than what it already is, really.
Celia.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very important. I did actually look into whether or not they could possibly qualify for a community grant, but because they're a business, they actually don't. And I just think that they could be talking to NRDA, which is, you know, the organisation that supports businesses who contribute to tourism in particular. And I did actually try and get a connection between them and NRDA, and I've actually got to follow that up. So that's the one thing. And the other thing is that the public transport strategy, yeah, I know, April, you're quite right, and that what the Golden Bay part of that strategy was that a community bus would be supported by TDC, but in actual fact, we don't have a community bus. We've got Wrigley's bus, and it's not really running very much. So that the other thing is to talk to the transport planners about this situation of a bus from Golden Bay, and I think, I mean, I'd like to maybe have a resolution that the community board ask for the transport planners to give us an indication of how public transport between Golden Bay and Nelson can be resolved. The other important thing about this is that apparently this is the only bus that runs from Motueka as well into Nelson. They're actually taking Motueka passengers. So if this closes, then there isn't even a bus to Motueka.
Excuse me, Celia, I thought they said that Motueka was getting a community bus, and that's why they felt they were left out, because Mott was getting one and we weren't.
Well, yeah, but it depends on what bus services are actually running. And
yeah, no, I appreciate that it is used by people over the hill as well as Golden Bay people. So it is sort of far-reaching.
Yeah, it's very far-reaching. I agree. And so
with the fuel
we're going to be talking to the transport planners about this.
Yeah, Motueka were definitely getting their own. I was at one of their community board meetings last year that brought it up.
So really there's two there's two things here. I'm fully supportive of the board pushing through to council and requesting that Golden Bay be considered more thoroughly with the public transport. And I'm also tentatively leaning towards, and I know it's tricky because council can't be seen to support business, but if the service could be counted as the community transport service option, I wonder if we could word up a resolution, something like that, Dennis.
Because certainly a community service would be a bus that is, you know, that obviously they have some sort of tender process, and it's put out to tender to make that service. So, you know, they just become a contractor then, wouldn't they? So
yeah.
I think your problem is that they're not identified as a public transport operator at the moment. So I can get some advice from Drew to let you know what the options are.
Dave.
I don't know how the mechanism works, but what the government announced yesterday about halving the price of public transport or something.
Yeah, and that's where you have to be a registered public.
Right?
Yeah, that's where you have to be a registered public transport operator.
Okay.
Maybe they are through the school bus service.
Yeah, that's another system that's funded by education, but I'm happy to find out from Drew what the advice is and get back to you.
the thing is, like Adriel said, the end of the month, this is fairly urgent. We've only got about 15 days, and then we've got no service. So this is a little bit more than urgent, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not asking for a long-term thing. They're just asking till we pick up again, and they don't qualify for the COVID response things because, you know, the government's just going to say, well, use your other money from your profits from your other business, and they don't really want to do that.
Oh, but they could.
But I guess they could, but if they're not going to run at a loss, they're not going to break even just to keep the service going for, you know.
Yeah, they don't provide a public service. They provide a commercial service. Yeah, so you can understand their business decisions. But I'll find out what the opportunities might be.
That would be great. And I hear what you're saying, Grant, about this being quite urgent, but if we don't find out the correct options and the correct pathways, we risk wasting time anyway, putting a resolution to council that isn't effective.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. And like Dennis said, if we don't have a public bus service over here, then, you know, what is council's policy about Golden Bay and public transport? Are we? And that's probably a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it may, it would be a shame to lose it. But let's wait and get our options back and then move forward with that one from there.
Can we get back to them? Can we write them a letter back and sort of explain to them that this isn't a short-term fix and we want to help, but it's not a short-term fix?
I'll try and get Drew to get in touch with the board, ASAP.
Thank
that
you.
would be great.
Just good to get back to the bus company and let them know that we've heard them and that we'd like to help, but it may not be a short-term thing.
Yeah, Avril, because you've had the contact with Arthur, are you happy to word something up to that effect, just saying that we are investigating all options?
Yep. Okay.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, that's good.
So if you send it to Jess, she'll send it out on letterhead.
Yeah. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the...
I was just going to say, Abby, could just put that on the action sheet, please?
Yes, it will be. Yeah, it will be. Yeah, because there's 2 actions come out of that. So that brings us to the end of our chair's report. So I'm happy to move that the Golden Bay Community Board receive the chair's report for March. Where's those dates all screwy? 22, what am I reading? Okay. Yeah, I'm happy to move. Is someone happy to second?
Yep.
Excellent. Thanks, Dave. So my thing's gone again. My run sheet keeps disappearing. Yep. So all those in favour?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you. So this brings us to our vehicles on beaches report, which is our and we should also have the email that Jess sent through from Cynthia, adding information. So has everyone had a chance to look through both reports?
So I can just make some observations, Madam Chair.
Please.
Yeah, so I don't want to diminish the importance of the biodiversity values in these 7 areas. The council has commissioned a report which we do every 3 to 5 years on the shorebird population around the district, and it's a given. You know, there are some very important roosting places around our district. I guess the question is, though, vehicles are one or are alleged to be one means by which, you know, these roosting areas are disturbed or potentially damaged. And the question is, well, the assumption has been made that if you ban vehicles, that will solve the problem. What this report sort of tries to identify is that we don't really have the power to prohibit vehicles. You can manage them, but legally beaches are roads, and you can't easily stop roads, particularly when they're providing transport options for people who don't have a physical road access, and then people who are using the beaches for launching boats and stuff like that. Now, I understand from Cynthia's case that they're not wanting to exclude those sorts of use of vehicles, but it comes down to whether either you've got to have a rule in a district plan, and we already have a rule in the TRMP, and I've included that. It identifies what the constraints are. The theory is, though, that if you can't comply with the permitted activity rule, you need a resource consent, and it's not administratively easy to have to get a resource consent to drive a vehicle on the road. So the other option that some councils are using are bylaws, but as the report also identifies, bylaws haven't really worked effectively, because all you can really do is control the speed of vehicles or perhaps their location, and but you've got to have someone present to actually enforce them. And it's the enforcement of the rules that's a challenge. As Cynthia has herself said, the police are not minded to look at speeds on beaches. They can do that now at the moment because it's a 100k speed limit, but you don't see them out there measuring the speed because there are just too many spaces. And same with the council. The council can't have enforcement officers everywhere 24/7. So if you want to go down the bylaw track, you've actually got to think about the enforceability. And I guess that's where this report comes to. So over to the discussions. I'm happy to try and answer any questions.
Could I have a speech?
Yeah, please.
Having observed firsthand at Patton's Rock what happens, I do acknowledge that it isn't without problems, but it's a growing issue. Where there are people, there's always problems, whether they're on foot or driving. You have, do you stop galloping horses or people on push bikes or people walking, running, people with dogs? I'll speak mainly about the area I'm familiar with, is that we've banned dogs from being in front of the residential areas, and people are told to go along the beach. Along the beach is where the birds are. So what we've done is told people to go away from the residential area if they want to make noise or have dogs, and they go to where the nesting birds are. But for most months of the year, it's not really a problem. It's when, like this year was quite bad, when the holiday makers and people that rented out batches came over and they had quad bikes and they were hooning up and down and doing wheelies, and it was a problem. And I actually pointed out to a few, to sort of tone it down a bit. I believe that, and there's also most of the time old people want to take their Kontiki down or get a few cockles or something, or take their whitebait net to the river on a vehicle, and they drive very slowly, because the locals drive generally slowly because they don't want to go fast, because it makes their vehicles all sandy and then they get rusty. So most of them only drive 20 or 30k, and if they drive below the mean high water mark, it's away from the nesting birds. So the problem is intermittent, it's not continual. And I think you could have a reasonable compromise by enforcing a speed limit or promoting a speed limit of 20 to 30k, and that still gives people access to the beach in a realistic manner, but it still allows the birds a better chance. Because I think if you just say no vehicles, only for those who can launch their boat or fish, you're going to find people will stick a fishing rod in their vehicle, hoon off down the beach, doing the same thing they're doing now, and they say, well, we're not here hooning, we're just here we're going fishing. So I don't think changing the use is going to alter much. I think you need to change how they use the beach, and just make them go slower. I think a speed limit's easier to enforce or promote than what is a total ban. Well, that's my personal view of, like just last week, I told some young hoons to stop, to slow down and explain some things, and they went away quite happily. But I think doing a total ban is going to upset a lot of people, elderly people that have retired to the beach and just want to go down to a bit of casual fishing, but they're quite elderly and can't walk or something, or walk very far. I think you're going to upset a whole lot of the majority of people that live coastally and have bought near the beach, want a peaceful retirement. For the, you're banning them for the sake of a few hoons that need to be educated a bit.
Dennis, is that a possibility? Can we limit speed on beaches to 20k, and can we say no, you're only allowed to drive below the high tide mark, or is that a possibility? And then, sorry, over to Celia.
The report contemplates that you can introduce a speed bylaw because they're roads, and the council does do that in other areas, but it comes down to the enforceability. Will the police be present to enforce that speed limit?
Currently, there's no signs saying, like, we have a lot of signs like no dogs in front of houses and fishing and stuff, but there's no sign that says please drive slowly on the beach or speed limit on beach 30k. There's not one sign to say that, and people don't have, while I think it's the road, they hoon along it, but there is actually no signage at the moment to say a speed limit. And I think if it was a speed limit was promoted, it would be the first step towards an easier fix to the solution than changing the whole laws and banning vehicles totally.
Well, the speed limit is actually 100k, as the report says. It's technically open road.
Yeah.
Now, you always have to drive to conditions, so you're never going to drive that fast.
Yeah, but still,
we could look at signage.
We have roadworks. I mean, we have roadworks saying 30k or 40k past the school or something. So limiting the speed would be. I would like to see that as the first step rather than a total ban, because I think you're going to annoy a whole lot of people.
Okay, Celia.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Dennis, it would be interesting to know with the Tasman Environment Plan, the coastal policy statement, one of the policies in the coastal policy statement is quite specific about vehicles on beaches, and with the new Tasman Environment Plan, would we be seeing that coastal policy statement will be given effect in the Tasman Environment Plan, which actually says that vehicles should not be on beaches? It's policy 20, I think.
Yeah, and I've referred to that, and the question is, the policy statement actually can't override the Land Transport Act.
No, yeah.
And I would argue that our TRMP actually complies and gives effect to the NZCPS in the best way that it can.
Okay, so you don't see that the new plan will be able to have any more effect than the existing one?
Oh, the new plan could, if you write a different rule.
Right.
But it would then go to the point of actually requiring people to get resource consents for driving vehicles on roads.
Right.
That's one way you could do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you have to actually think of the administrative sort of simplicity of that, and it's not very easy.
And the other thing is, you know, we could look at just 2 of these areas. Like, for example, the Motopipi estuary, there's really no reason for anybody to drive a vehicle on there. And I have, you know, checked with people who live there. There isn't actually a reason for, you know, people don't need to drive there to access properties or anything like that. And so whether or not we could actually try and stop people getting onto the beach there, I know the argument is that they just managed to get on another way. So that's one area. And the other area is at Pakawa from Tomatea Point North, which is the, you know, the spit, this big sandy flats up to the mouth of the river. Whether or not we could have a sign at Tomatea Reserve as people go over the little access way, that there is a sign which says no vehicles to the left, so that we start to, I know it's we can't, not allowed to ban vehicles on beaches, but if we could find a way to put up some signs to do some education.
Well, the board has a budget. If you want to
contributing
use that
Yeah.
budget for some signage, then that could be an option.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, because I think it's about educating people and saying, look, if you don't, you know, respect this, you'll be banned, sort of a thing. And that really toned these kids down a hell of a lot. You know, they were quite mortified that they'd sort of been led to believe they could hoon along the beach and everything. But after talking to them and coming to an understanding, you know, their attitude changed. And there is no, and I feel with some strong signage, like ones that you can see. Sometimes there's too many signs at beaches and they're all in little writing and you don't see them. But if you had some, because this is quite an important issue, if you had some big signs that really stood out, you know, just, well, road speed signs are quite minimalist, aren't they? Even though they're quite big, you can, you know, so it would really stand out. I feel that to have some signs in some of these areas would really go a long way to, you know, putting people in their place a wee bit. And maybe doing a letterbox drop towards Christmas, towards the batch owners, saying, you know, if you reach your batch out, could you please remind people that they can't speed on the beach for our wildlife?
Grant and then Dave.
Okay, so I was down at Tartar Beach last week, and just down by the boat ramp. Now, there used to be a road to your left along Tartar Beach. It's now a road reserve, I believe, because it was closed off because the residents didn't like the dust, people driving up and down that road to nowhere and then going back down it. And that is a situation where they put some rocks in front of it. You can walk down it, you can cycle down it. And seems that that's what they've done at Tutapu Point. I don't understand why you can't do that, say, at Rotatai. It doesn't limit the access to the beach. It doesn't seem to stop people from going on there to walk out and collect shellfish and come back, if that's what they're doing, or walk their dogs in the right place. And I agree with Celia that we need to look at each of these places that have been brought up by Forest and Bird. We need to look at each of those places individually as what's the easiest fruit to pick, because I think there's an opportunity here to take one at a time and just look at the ones that could happen. And I think Rotatai and Tutapu Point are probably the two easier ones to look at the moment. I don't disagree that the other ones are equally as important, but they might be a little bit more difficult to look at. I actually have a real problem with signage. Again, I was while I was at Tartar Beach, there's about 20 signs by the boat ramp, and they just look so awful. It's just not a good look to have all these signs. And to people, actually, when you've got too many signs, people stop looking at them, people stop reading them. And honestly, I just think that, you know, do we need more signs? Don't do this and don't do that. I don't know if that's actually a good call either. just think education is what's important, and I like the idea of letterbox drops, especially to batch owners, but I'm not so keen on the idea of a sign. We can't enforce it, so what's the point, you know? That's my
So
say
you
at the
can't
moment
enforce-
anyway.
Yeah, but you can't enforce people not going on the beach either, because under those suggestions, you can go on there to launch a boat or fishing or something. People will just stick a fishing rod in their car and hoon off down the beach. So I think trying to encourage a speed limit would be better than nothing.
So Dave, you are next, but I'm feeling like this is turning into a really involved discussion, especially if we're going to look at them all individually. So I'm thinking a workshop might be our next step. But
Yeah,
Dave,
I first said it, road at Tata Beach, I think Grant was a esplanade strip all the time. It was never a road. I think maybe something that could be useful is if we have like quite accurate dates, probably already written there and I didn't read it, about when this nesting takes place. So if we do something, it could perhaps just be temporary for a month or so during the nesting season, and then end it, because it's probably more effective. Might be taken a bit more notice of that way than having something all year. But
During the whitebait season.
if we're going to have a workshop, we probably need to have that information, and also maybe ask the police about speed limits and ask, well, if they are imposed, will they even be interested? And that might be something useful to know before we have a workshop as well.
You might recall we actually did ask them that question about 3 years ago when the board has previously discussed this issue. Well, actually no longer than that, because I think Arthur Clarence was the police sergeant at the time, and we were told no.
yeah.
Very quickly. Yeah. Look, I like the idea of a workshop, but I would also, I wonder if it comes down to a regulatory committee, and if we need a more scientific report. I haven't. What was the report that was talked about, the scientific one that with, you know, the bird one? Is that one that we had sent?
Oh no, Nikki.
No,
Nikki
I would like to
Macarthur.
see that. I would definitely like to get that sent to us. If somehow we could
it's
get
going
it.
to be submitted to the operations committee shortly.
Oh, okay.
There are actually two reports. One is finished. That's the one by Nikki Ward, and then there's another one that Trevor James is working on. But that will just confirm the presence of these important biodiversity values, and we're not disputing those.
No.
The question is, how then do you turn it into a management regime? And that's what this paper does. It identifies what your statutory options are. It also identifies responsibilities, because basically if anyone's disturbing wildlife, Department of Conservation is the body that's actually responsible, not the council.
But it also said in your report, Dennis, I think I haven't got it in front of me, but it was about 7.3, or was it 8.3? You can't disturb birds if you're going to be or wildlife or plants or anything like that.
Correct. Yeah, that's the rule in the TRMP.
Yeah. And I thought that was actually kind of our. And so who enforces that if somebody's,
we do
us? So
yes.
How do we do that? Because we're not everywhere at once.
That's correct. But if people give us information, then our compliance officers can go and try and find out whether there has been a breach. But it's often after the event, because we're not necessarily always present when the activity is actually happening.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Can we do a workshop?
I think a workshop's a really good idea. So if I pull a whole lot of information together, and we'll find a date that hopefully works for everybody, and we'll go from there. There's obviously a lot to discuss, lots of information and lots to discuss. So,
well, to some extent, that's what the report today was there for you to actually make a position based on the information that you have available. If you haven't got all the information, then that might be another reason why you can't make a decision today. But the report was designed to give you what the legal options are. You could technically make a recommendation that the council should consider a bylaw to protect these important biodiversity values. But again, you need to have considered whether the bylaw is the most appropriate means of dealing with this issue, or whether it's education, whether it's signage, whether it's a different rule in the TRMP. Those are your options.
Well, look, you can drive on any beach. It says you can drive on any beach, but is anybody going to drive on Whaariki Beach? You can't drive down there. You can't get to it. We can make beaches so that you can't drive onto them. Hello,
I
a few rocks.
I don't think. Yeah, sorry, Grant. I think you're barking up the wrong tree, because I think in some ways putting rocks would probably be illegal because you're blocking an access way if they're allowed to drive on the beach.
Yeah.
I still think that you're not going to solve the problem, because there'll be people going there. The problem is speeding drivers, driving where they shouldn't. And I think that comes down to trying to educate the people about that rather than doing a total ban.
Yep. So can we make a recommendation to council that they reduce speed limits on the beach to 25k an hour or 20k an hour?
And 20k an hour will still disturb the wildlife.
It will still disturb birds.
Yeah, I think, Dennis, it stops those people that are going out for a damn good hoon, because those sort of people don't want to do 20k, do they? So I think it gives people a general idea that they're not allowed to speed.
Yeah, but as you saw by Cynthia's photographs, people driving up by the high tide mark where all the birds are roosting as well.
So do people on horses, Grant, and so do people walking. It's like, it's a people issue. It's no matter whether they're in a car, a motorbike, or on foot or on horse, it's a people problem. It's you know, we're getting more tourism, we're getting more people are moving here, people are sort of getting out and about, and it's people disturbing these birds, whether no matter what mode of transport they're on.
I think there's a very big difference of a person walking along the high tide mark to a vehicle driving along the high tide mark to a little chicken and a mother bird with its nest. I think you know, the bird will kind of squawk and you'll step away from it. I don't think there's a situation where a car is going to do that.
I've just got a question. So I've just got a question for Dennis about making a wildlife reserve. Like, is there some, do we have the option under the RMA to take specific parts of the beach and create a wildlife reserve? So I'm thinking particularly of roast tie. What are our options for that?
So you may recall that was discussed at the regulatory committee some few months ago in relation to the Motueka Sand Spit.
Yes.
And a wildlife reserve is something for the Department of Conservation to do, not the council.
Right. I see. So not at all council.
No, it's the Wildlife Act is administered by the Department of Conservation.
Yeah, I know. I remember that report from Doc about the Motueka Sand Spit. Yeah.
So how, it doesn't sound like we have it as consensus or a general. I mean, we've all agreed that it's important that we protect the shorebirds, but I don't feel like we've got a solution yet to recommend anything to council.
Maybe we could have a workshop and come up with a position of what, you know, what we see as strategies, like which would include. I think Averill's suggestions about education are really important, and maybe just look at either all or some of these sites, you know, and look at them specifically to see, you know, what the actions could be on specific sites.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I'd be in favour of that. I don't know about the rest of the board.
Yeah, I think a workshop is the way forward. All right, well, I will pull some things together and get some dates, and we'll do that. Excellent, thank you, everybody.
And so I'm just wondering if we're going to need more information from staff to help us, or whether we've got enough.
Well, the staff report's pretty good, and I think if we add in the option to split the sites and all the different options, I think I think we should probably have enough with Trevor's report and Nikki's report as well. So
I'd
Yeah,
like
I
to
can't
find
give
out
you a
before the-
timeline, but it's not too far away that the operations committee will be receiving that.
yeah, perfect.
The
Thank you,
board will
Dennis.
get that available too.
I would
Yeah.
like to know more about which birds are which and where they are and what's most important, which is
Cool.
not.
Well, I'm sure between Celia and Cynthia, I can have that information.
Well, that will be in
And she's-
Nikki's report as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
quite true. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Well, that's that then. So that was one late item. With should we do the other late item now, Dennis? While we're doing appointing the panel member.
Well, so okay, there's no resolution from that report, so that just sits. So you can do the late item for the hearing panel. Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so council have obviously have decided to put out to the public. They're going to consult on whether or not to put a barrier fence up to block off that arm at Port Tarakoe to protect the little blue penguins. Councillor Hill will be chairing the panel. Councillor Butler, you're on the panel, aren't you? There'll be a representative from Mana Whenua, and they've invited the Golden Bay Community Board to have a member on this panel as well. So we just need to let them know who that will be. And I know, Grant, you've expressed an interest. Dave and Avril, are you interested at all in being on that hearing panel?
No, I'm not, thank you.
Like Grant, keen, he can do it.
Okay, I'm happy with Grant if you're happy to sit on the hearing
Yep.
panel.
Sure.
So the resolution, Jess, will be that we appoint Grant to the panel. Can't find the wording, sorry. All
Yeah,
those in favour?
recommend that Grant be appointed. Yeah.
Recommend that Grant be appointed. Thank you, Dave. Dennis. Yeah, so all those in favour?
No,
Excellent, great. Thank you,
Sorry,
Grant.
who moved and seconded that?
Oh, sorry. I'll move it. Can I have a seconder? It better not be you, Grant.
I will.
Dave. Oh, excellent. And seconded by Avril. Sorry. All
Okay,
those in favour? Excellent.
Can we also have a resolution for the vehicles on Mitch's report?
So
Oh,
we've
just to receive the report. Yes.
yeah,
to
we've
receive
just sorry. I'm happy to receive the report. Can I have a
Yep.
seconder? Great, and seconded by Grant. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jess.
That's okay. Put this over
Excellent.
to the action sheet.
It does. Thank you. So our action sheet. What have we got? The Pakawai seawall is ongoing. Bahara ombudsman can come off. Thank you, Dennis. So the information is there from the summer rubbish public.
Yeah, I wasn't very happy with that personally.
Okay.
I don't think it's quite. I don't think it's true, to be honest. They weren't doing 3 times a day, and I'm sorry, that might have been the ideal, but it wasn't happening 3 times a day, and I really think we need to follow that up.
Okay, so you don't believe that was being done?
No, not at all.
Okay, Grant, would you like to follow that up?
Yeah,
Well, I can go back to David, but that was the advice I got, that the service
Well,
levels were
that's-
not changed.
well.
What you had was a willing worker who went above and beyond.
Yeah.
No, he was paid for it actually, and what NALMAC did, Tony would employ somebody from NALMAC for extra shifts, and they did 4 a day. This is for the last 2 or 3 years, and to be quite honest, it wasn't even done 3 times this year. It was only done twice. So no, that's not what happened.
Okay, so we need to go back and let.
Well, I'm just wondering, where does the 3 times a day? It just says bins are to be emptied as needed.
I'm sure it said 3 times a day, but maybe I was wrong there. But it was
No,
4
no,
times.
no.
At peak times, they were asked to ensure this happened at least 3 times a day.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, it was actually okay. But that didn't happen either. I know it didn't happen. I was in town every day.
So we'll just need to follow up with David and perhaps possibly, yeah, and just flag to him
Well,
that
I'll
it
go back
was-
to him and just say that the board was not satisfied that his understanding was actually achieved.
That's
Okay.
right.
That
I'll
would be
do that.
great. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
So I only have one page of action sheet. Is that right, Jess? I meant to
Yep.
check with you. Everyone else has got one page too?
Um,
Dave?
Yeah, we let this one go off last week, and it's my fault, I suppose. And that's the road occupations. I'd like to see it stay on the action sheet until we have our little input into the rules they're revising. Because I think Dennis may have responded to one specific case, and which I don't think specific cases. What I was talking about, I was talking about things as a whole. And they said they were going to come and consult with us when they're drawing up these new rules that they're going to do very soon, apparently.
Yep.
Stay on the action sheet until we have our say.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
Just like the pack or seawalkers.
Yeah, that's right. Celia?
Yep, and I'm thinking that we add the Shorebirds project onto the action sheet as well.
Yeah, well, that will be added because it's an action on me to organise the workshop. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay, so that's the end of our actions. That's a very admirably short action list.
I think it's the shortest we've ever had, to be
I
honest.
think so. Might be getting a bit. Anyway, I won't say the word.
Efficient.
Yeah, that's it. All right. Well, I'm happy to move that the action sheet to be accepted. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Butler. Thank you, Celia. All those in favour?
Aye.
All right.
Great. Excellent. Brings us to our financial summary, which I am happy to take as read, unless anyone has any questions.
I've read it, and I don't think that money has been transferred. We asked last month for the money for the
New rate.
banners. The banners.
Oh, the banners.
The banners money. We asked if we could have that come out of our discretionary fund, not our projects fund. I think that's right.
That's
I might be
my
wrong.
mistake there, Grant. I hadn't managed to get onto that yet to talk to the debtors team because it involves reversing invoices and a few things.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's the 448, isn't it? To come out
Yeah,
of discretionary.
Can we just keep an eye on that? Make sure it does happen.
Yep.
Oh, okay, thanks, Jess. So is someone happy to move that report be accepted?
Yep, I will.
Great, and a seconder? Thanks, Dave. Seconded by Dave. All those in favour? Excellent, thank you. So then we go to our correspondence. So not a huge amount of correspondence. There's the response letter from the Pupu Hydro that we wrote. So basically saying that it's on the list of funding for upgrades, but they can't confirm, unfortunately. So it's on their matrix as one of the sites for repair. So that's, I guess, a good start. So he will let us know.
Can I have a talk about that one?
Yeah, of course.
Just reading through that one, there's one part that reads, I understand the local office has agreed that the Pupu Hydro Society can undertake the work. However, they too have not been able to secure funding to carry out the work. What's been going on is we've been trying to be able to upgrade that track for years. And I don't know if it's the local dock office or dock as a whole, but they don't want us to do it. They want to do it themselves. So we undertook to try and get lotteries funding, but we didn't fit any criteria, not for us to upgrade it, but for Doc to upgrade it. And it's just something we sort of tried to work out. So that sentence is incorrect. The Hydro Society have been trying to get permission from Doc to upgrade it for a long period of time, and they keep saying, no, we want to do it ourselves, but then they don't do it. So that sentence is incorrect, and it gives a bit of a false impression.
Thanks, Dave.
So Dave, do you want to approach Dave Winterburn? Because he said in the last paragraph to encourage the board to contact local operations manager and follow that up with Dave and just say, this is the response we've been given, but actually it's incorrect and we'd love to be out there doing it.
Yeah, well, we've been, I mean, I can get the society to have a look at this and ask them, but this has been an ongoing thing for years, trying to, you know, this isn't something you can front up this letter and say, well, can we do it? And they will go, yes, we've been trying to get this done for a very long period of time, but they just won't let us do it.
Mm.
Can I back that up? Because I've talked to Paul Sangster at long length about this, and that's why I brought the subject up about getting the track repaired. And he expressed on behalf of the Hydro Society his intense frustration, saying it was a disgusting thing, and he'd had people complain when they walk around the track how bad the condition is. And he, you know, when he's working on the hydro section of it, and he says, well, it's not our fault, you know. He said, we wanted to fix it, we're just not getting cooperation from Doc. So this is, as Dave said, not quite the true story that's been portrayed in that statement.
Okay. So yeah, Dave, if you're happy to approach Dave Winterburn with this copy of this letter from Roy and say, this is their understanding, we really want to work together, see what the response is.
Yeah, I might get that. I may try. Might take this letter to the Hydro Society, actually,
yep,
and do it through them.
Good idea.
Okay, sounds good. Excellent. So our next letter is from the Golden Bay High School expressing their disappointment in the we recommended to council that they remove the current trail crossing, which was adopted by council. So the board have written to us and to express their disappointment, and they've invited us to join BOT reps on site to observe the traffic at rush hour, which we have done with Robert Deck when they put the drone up. And just to show us that the configuration is optimal in terms of pedestrian safety. So they'd like us to go and do that. I feel that it's now, because we recommended to council and council made the decision, that I'm comfortable with the recommendation that we made to council, and I know the work still hasn't been done anyway. Grant.
So I did bring Jude and from the high school and just said thank you for this, and that we will be talking about it today, because just to acknowledge her the email. And while I was talking to Robert yesterday, Robert Deck, about the culvert over at Liger Bay, plus another little issue in Tartar Beach, he brought it up, this issue up, and Robert obviously feels that we really should go to the school and spend some time with the board at the afternoon session. He was of the impression that there are definitely several ways of looking at that scenario of what we did, or what is to be done there, and that maybe there is a problem when it comes to kids who just come straight out of school, whether there's a pedestrian crossing in the place it is now or not, and they'll just cross that road, and they'll just cross over on the if we open that run through again, they'll just cross over there anyway, and because it's the shortest route that children take, it's the way kids are. And I think we have to consider those things. We also have to consider the I think the much better decision of where the pedestrian crossings with asked to be R. I think that's actually a really good a solution, especially when we're coming down to the new subdivision that's going on across there. They'll be an excellent place. And again, Robert agreed with that. The through road, or the what do you call it, the shortcut, it's actually on road reserve. It's on a reserve. It's not a road reserve. It's on an actual reserve. So that was put through some time ago, and I'm sure the reserve people would love to have it back as a reserve, fill it in and put soil in there and make it all really nice. The reality is maybe a skate park, but the reality is, you know, I think the traffic is working fine. It's been going for over 18 months. And I think the traffic's been going around there absolutely fine, and people have gotten used to it. I think it's just got a lot to do with change and people's fear of change. And I really think we need to look at the configuration and see whether it is important to have that through road. I don't know if it is.
Could we not send
Hang on, sorry,
engineer-
Everall, I'll just go to Dave first, sorry, because I couldn't see if you had you. So Dave, then Everall.
Yeah, I'm happy with our original decision, and
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't like to see us change it. We'll be seen as rather wishy-washy if we did that anyhow, and we discussed it very thoroughly. And the other thing to remember is that they are intending at some stage, as far as I know, to move the school gate anyhow to be opposite where that new pedestrian crossing is going to be.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Everall.
Yeah, I agree with Dave, but could we not send engineer Bennett to explain, as he explained to us, some people hadn't realised the implications of why he thought it should be changed, and they may not have been aware of that at the school. Maybe they could hear why he suggested we do it the way we're doing it now.
Grant.
Yeah, I just think that's a good idea. And if we do go, I think we should still go and meet with the board down on the corner. And I think maybe Chris could come with us. Chris Bennett.
Yeah. Dennis, from the council perspective that the decision's already been made, and Celia too, actually, you'll be, yeah, but because they'd already made the decision, and how does that sit? I mean, I know council decisions are changed all the time, but
the council made the decision on the basis of your recommendation.
Yeah.
So if you wanting to revisit your recommendation, then you'd have to go back to the council to say that, you know, you've got new information and you want to change your mind. But doesn't seem to me that you're all necessarily of that mind.
no, I don't feel that we do have any new information that would change my mind. But Celia.
Yeah, well, I think we do have new information, and that is just the time that has gone on since, you know, I mean, it just hasn't been changed back. And is that really causing a problem? I mean, I think to actually at this stage to reopen that link road would be, I think it'd be a sort of a strange thing to do, given that so much time has elapsed. So, you know, I'd like to maybe just talk to the roading engineers at TDC, Mike Van Enter, and just say, well, you know, given that this has not happened and that people seem to be working the thing okay, is there a case for actually, you know, just, I know council has passed something, but, you know, what are our options for re-looking at that changing of that, reopening of that slip road? I mean, this is separate from the sighting of the pedestrian crossings, which is another matter.
Yeah, I think the pedestrian crossings are fine with the new ones. Our recommendations, but I just questioned the link road.
So then you're going to make a change back, and you'll get Solly's and some other organisation coming to you saying, "Hey, we don't like it." Like as Dave said, are we wishy-washy?
Yeah, but have we had any complaints about the slip road not being open lately?
Yeah, we have, and the attitude is, "Oh, that's council. They take years to do something." That is, there is complaints. Yes, there is, and people say, "Oh, this decision was made years ago, and those planter boxes are still there. All we have to do is rip them out and do something, and it'll be back to normal." Like there are complaints, Celia, but they just think, "Oh, well, that's council."
Yeah,
I think we should definitely go back to the board and go to the corner and at least hear them out. I think it's really important.
I do too, but
Okay.
I think we could take Chris with us to show us why we made that decision.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me talk to the board, get some dates, talk to Chris, and those of us that can be there, that would be ideal. So I will I'll respond.
Chris has been away. He's I think in the Macarthur. He may be back by now.
I think it's putting him on the spot. You guys made the decision, and it's probably better to have Robert Deck there with you, because he knows why you made the decision that you made.
Robert and maybe Mike, because Mike and Yulia were there too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. All right, I will get some dates. I'll talk to Jude, and I will get a date. I'll put it a couple of weeks out just to give us hopefully everyone will allow more people to be there.
Well, speaking to
Okay.
Robert, Robert said he's coming over around about the 30th, maybe.
Excellent. All right.
Oh,
Okay, and then the only
Abby.
other thing.
Abby,
sorry.
Abby.
Sorry, Dave. Sorry.
I just like to add to that. I don't want any of this to slow anything down. I don't want anything put on hold. Just as April said about complaints, I've been getting people hitting me up and saying, when's it going to happen?
Oh, I know.
And it's happening all the time. And the people aren't complaining because they know the thing's been going to change. And so I don't want any discussions. What we're having a meeting, I don't want anything put on hold. I just want it to hurry up and get done.
Yeah, and the majority of the feedback, and I know it wasn't official, but the majority of comments on Facebook when they first did it, where they were happy with the crossings but hated that slip road being closed, and that formed a basis of the majority of our discussion. But well, yeah, I hear you, Dave, and we won't be putting anything on hold. We'll just be meeting to hear them and go from there.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the last piece of correspondence was the draft walking and cycling strategy that the board workshopped, and thank you to Grant for running that for me, running it and doing all the work, putting their submission in, so thank you. That looked really good, and I was pleased to see that you'd taken note of all the feedback from the walking and cycling group in Takaka. Dave.
I'd just like to thank Jess for that too, because it was a hell of a meeting to try and take notes on. So the discussion went back and forth and up and down, and yeah, so thanks for making sense of our work, Jess.
Yeah, awesome. No, we're very lucky to have an excellent board secretary. Keeps us in line, keeps me in line anyway, so it's good. So I think, does that bring us to the end? Yes, I do believe. So we just need to accept the correspondence. Can I have someone move the correspondence be accepted? Excellent. And so Celia, and seconded by Dave.
Yeah.
All those in favour? Excellent. Yep. Oh, that's great. Thank you very much, everybody. Dennis, if I can just pass to you for closing karakia.
Indeed. Kia whakaria te tapu, kia wātia ai te ara, kia turuki whakataha ai, haumai ai, hui ai, taiti ai. Restrictions are moved aside and the pathway is clear to return to everyday activities, uniting as one, uniting conscious thought.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, Dennis. Thanks so much, everybody, and I'll be in touch about our workshop in our Rotatai corner meeting.
Kia ora.
Thanks, everyone.
Right. Thanks, Jess.
Yes, then.
Thanks, Jess. Thanks, everyone.